for many years, I was, as my story indicates, things looked great on the outside. And on the inside, I was really struggling with who I was. And, through this process of surrendering and rebuilding, I've been able to get back to being the person that I knew I was capable of being. It was through a lot of hard work, reflection, and what I call activating my IronMind mentality.
Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. Today's guest is a true testament to resilience forged in fire. Kenny Stoddart is the founder of IronMind Advisors and creator of the IronMind Mentality. His journey reads like a masterclass in overcoming adversity. A star athlete whose world shattered after expulsion, rebuilt through the discipline of military college, rose to become a globe-trotting cybersecurity executive and IronMan athlete, battled addiction lurking behind that success. Then pivoted his life's mission towards coaching others through addiction and grief, received a life-altering cancer diagnosis. Instead of retreating, Ken embodies his core philosophy that true strength is forged in surrender, using his own battles to empower others to turn pain into power. So, Ken, it's truly an honor to have you on the show today. Welcome to FailCraft.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you today. Thank you, Ezekiel.
I am super excited to have you here. So, quickly, let's dive in. Your story involves navigating multiple profound setbacks, the expulsion that shattered your sense of self, the battle with addiction while achieving high-level executive success, and then the cancer diagnosis arriving at a pivotal moment of reinvention. Can you take us back to one of those defining moments of chattering or surrender?
Yeah, my surrender happened just over a year ago where, now I'm celebrating 1 year of sobriety, which I'm super grateful for and proud.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. But the surrender, it didn't come easy, and it doesn't come easy for most.
Mm,
Admitting that I needed help was a big obstacle that I needed to overcome because I wasn't ready to admit it to myself. Once I did admit it to myself and then finally got the help that I need, I made the decision to take every action to turn my life around and get myself back on track, to the person that I want to be, to the person that I always wanted to be, not the person that I was becoming because of the impact that alcohol was having on my life. So the surrender came. I was no longer in control of it. It was controlling me, and I needed to get help. So I took action and did that. I think that there's so many great resources out there, that are available to people that are struggling. It wasn't easy for me to find the right resource for me, but when I did, it was life-changing. And here we are a year later, and I'm, really, for the first time in many, many years, proud of myself for the first time in a long time because, for many years I was, as my story indicates, things looked great on the outside, and on the inside, I was really struggling with who I was. And, through this process of surrendering and rebuilding, I've been able to get back to being the person that I knew I was capable of being. It was through a lot of hard work, reflection, and, what I call activating my IronMind mentality, which I know we're going to go into more detail. But yeah, it took a breaking point for me, unfortunately. Everybody has one. My story is different than others, and everybody else has their different way. But since then, it's been a blessing to go about my day. And yes, you mentioned the recent cancer diagnosis. This has been a setback. There's no question about that. I don't want to make light of it. I've chosen to deal with it with the same mentality that I'm referring to as, address the IronMind mentality, where we take a deep look at the root cause, which in this case we have cancer, and figure out a plan to fix it. And with the grace of God and with the greatest doctors in the world, I have no doubt that the outcome will be great. So that's where we're at, and that is a kind of a current events version of my story there. So thank you for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing, Ken. That is indeed an inspiring story. So, what did that rock bottom feel like, and how did that specific experience become a foundational piece in forging the discipline, the humility, and the Iron Mind mentality that you teach today?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's rock bottom looks differently or sounds differently. Um, mine was probably what you would describe as internal versus, I certainly wasn't looking great on the outside either. Don't get me wrong, but inside I was a disaster. And I just really couldn't take it anymore. The shame that I was feeling on a day-to-day basis. I was just not who I wanted to be as a human being. And I wondered why to myself, why is this happening? And I was looking for answers, and I was passing blame, and I was really hiding from the honest truth that, alcohol was playing a significant role in many of those issues. So, um, yeah, it took a lot of strength to take the next steps, but I did. And, I immediately started to see the impact of what recovery had on me. Just with my, you know, in the short term, there was some, feeling better in the mornings upon wake up. We all know that. Um, and then, slowly but surely I was getting my energy and clarity back. And then, it was just one thing after another continued to get better. And I embraced recovery as if I was just really involved and really took it to heart and wanted to make the most of that help that I was getting. And as a result, I have, I've made it a calling to build upon that recovery and to work with others that are struggling, to try to share with them some of the same philosophies or methods, I guess, that I've deployed for me personally to get through it, because it was hard, alcohol was my choice, my drug of choice, if you will. Um, I didn't know how bad it was until I look back now. And so I'm proud of that, like I said, and now I'm looking to figure out, or, how to help others gets to that point, and walk with them as they share similar struggles.
Great. So, Ken, can you tell us about the Iron Mind mentality that you teach today and how it's helping people?
Yeah, the Iron Minds mentality is a product of, my own struggles and also some of my greatest accomplishments. I'm an Ironman athlete or triathlete, and those accomplishments from a physical standpoint are incredibly hard. From a mental standpoint, they're even harder. Um, what it takes to get to cross finish lines like that, or any major obstacle in life, whether it be an athletic event or a new job or a career change. These are big things for people, right? So, um, the Iron Minds mentality is a product of applying, that strength that inside of us that we may not know that we have had mentally, and forging it into using adversity as strength. And that's what I do, not only with my recovery, but now with my most recent diagnosis is that yes, it's a setback and it's an adversity. So with the Iron Minds mentality, I teach folks to reframe these challenges and look at them as opportunities. And in this instance, um, the great news is that we've used early detection methodology to find my cancer in a phase where it's very treatable, and there's great news from that. So I'm using this as an opportunity to help educate other men that might be in similar situations. That's one of the most amazing things about this. That's the Iron Minds mentality in its rawest form. Is that this cancer news is it is devastating. But it won't define me. What will define me is what I make out of the message that comes from it and how I can help other people. And the same goes with my recovery from alcoholism. I needed to apply that or activate that Iron Minds mentality that I'm now teaching to my own recovery. And I feel like it was the primary reason for me to have success is that I combined the mental side of things, which are huge in recovery because of the tricks that alcohol plays on you during this process. But also, this can do attitude to an extreme. I no is not an option for me. And I don't want to sound cliche that any good leader or teacher or coach is going to say that, we're going to do this no matter what. I live by that. I really do. There's been many instances where the finish line wasn't supposed to be crossed. And, I did it, whether it be in one of those races or in one of these life events that I've had to deal with. It takes a certain emphasis, and that's what I teach. We reframe it, we look at the problem, we own it, we develop a plan, and then we attack it. And that's, you know, as I say in my keynote, it doesn't just apply to athletes or Navy SEALs or CEOs. This is anybody that has a major event in their life and they want it bad enough to put in the full effort to go after it, where no is not an option. And we set goals and we go after what we're going to get. It could be recovery. It could be that new um, career change, that new event in life that you want to do. But that's the Iron Minds mentality. And it's not easy. There's no magic wand. There's no rah-rah speech at the end of this that I can give anybody. It requires willingness to invest in yourself, and with the outcome of being the absolute best version of yourself beyond your wildest dreams. And that's what the Iron Minds mentality is teaching people every day. And it's just phenomenal to see.
Fantastic. So, can your story describe being high functioning but internally fractured while battling addiction and as an executive? So, what was the turning point that shifted you from managing the addiction to seeking recovery through radical honesty?
Yeah, the unfortunately that decision wasn't entirely made by me. I wish I would have made it a lot sooner on my own. Um, but I had some people that are very close to me in my life, some loved ones that were concerned about me. And what happens during this process when you get approached, those are very difficult conversations and they're upsetting, especially for me being in what I guess we would call denial or just not understanding the magnitude of the issue. But um, it, I was seeing the hurts that I was causing people, the concern, the worry, and that just tore at me in such a way that I know that I needed to do something and I needed to do it soon. But that's talk. I'm talking to myself. I want to do this so badly, but I had to take action too, and serious action. Not I'm gonna quit or in my case stop or slow down or there. I had to take serious action, meaning um, first and foremost recognizing that I needed help, and then the desire to fix it, which I had a strong desire to, and then getting the help that I needed to fix it. So, um, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's you have to want to make these changes, and then with that desire comes all these incredible tools that are available to us and that make the process better, more rewarding, more enjoyable. I love recovery. I think it's the coolest thing ever. It's the biggest flex, I think. I say, I do recover loudly, and because I'm proud. It's difficult to do, and when I continue celebrating it on a daily basis, it just reminds me of how challenging it is to keep this journey going, and how devastating it would be for having any setbacks. So that model has worked for me well, and it has allowed me to continue to prosper as I, go through my business pivot here, and then also face this cancer situation that I'm gonna, face head on and get taken care of.
All right. So your philosophy is true strength is forged in surrender. How does that powerful idea of surrender exist with the intense discipline you learned and embodied as an Ironman and military college graduate?
Yeah, surrender is such a big word because it can be associated with failure or giving up. I don't feel like that's surrendering to some. I was a person that wanted to just, fix everything, be the do all, Mr. Everything, Superman. I took my cape off. That was what when I decided I was not asking for help, surrendering, recognizing that I am not, I needed it, I needed others to participate in my process. If that's what surrender is, then so be it. It's a beautiful word. The pressure was taken off of me. I was always walking around with this weight of trying to live up to certain expectations that only I really put on myself. A lot of that stems from some of the hardship that I faced when I was younger that you mentioned, that caused me some embarrassment, and getting expelled from school was something that I kind of bottled up and never dealt with it accordingly. And um it took a long time to figure out, the root cause of some of the things that I've dealt with, but it's just, it feels great to not to have that weight on my shoulders, and doubling down on that, it's allowed me to do things like this where I can speak with people like yourselves and um talk about my journey. That's, it's had some pretty big bumps in the road, there's no question about it, but it's been amazing, and there's so many lessons that I've learned that I'm excited to pass along. And again, they're just things that I've kind of learned along the way and through some experiences and whatnot. And so it's just been a blessing in so many ways to be able to come out of it um, in this position where I can spread the word a little bit about how phenomenal recovery is and what it does for overall well-being and happiness.
All right. So Ken, you mentioned the shame from your action. How did that experience inform your focus on dignity in recovery for your clients now?
Yeah, I mean that story happened when I was a teenager, and it was definitely impactful on my life. It was something that caught me and certainly my family and a lot of people by surprise. And I was, I guess that cocky kid that never, I had everything going for me, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a major change, and now I'm looking for a new school and a new hockey team to play for, and it was just a lot to go through as a 16-year-old. And then, I immediately shifted into, fight or flight mode where, I'm going to reset my own personal bar. And that's when I started to take school more seriously. And, started focusing on having college goals, and then, you know, immediately that raised that bar to trying to go to a military school, which is what I ended up doing. And then, it just carried right on into my professional career as in the cybersecurity space where, really from day one, it was how quickly can I become an overachiever or be promoted or get to the next level, whatever it was at the time, to try to, continue to raise the bar for myself. And I did that for years and years. And that full circle came to what I, mentioned earlier regarding surrender. Like there's no more people pleasing or trying to be this or that. And I've had to learn that kind of through this process. Now I am who I am. What you see is what you get. And, I'm learning that that's a good thing, and I guess I was just never pleased with myself, if you will. And now coming out of the recovery and being able to do this and um, help people is just, it's so gratifying in so many ways that um, I can't help but continue to talk about it and ramble on and just share the story, because it's also being received very well by the people that are hearing it, that, that there is hope. I mean, I was in a bad spot with alcohol, and um, like I said, I decided to make that change and did it. Wow, it's been amazing ever since.
Really, really inspirational. So, Ken, for the person listening right now who feels stuck in shame, perhaps battling addiction, facing a health crisis, or feeling their sense of self has been shattered, what is the first Iron Mind move you would advise them to take today?
Yeah, the shame is tough. The shame is really, really, that's the stuff that happens internally. Especially, I had it really bad. I was just every single day because I knew I was not being the person that I wanted to be. Um, when I finally recognized that that was indeed the case, that I'm not living up to who I wanted to be, and there's changes that I could make, um, recognizing that. And when you're in a bad spot, I know that that is easier said than done. So I would say the first Iron Mind principle when people are in that type of situation, the same situation that I was in a year ago, is to give yourself some grace and some room to, you know, we put ourselves through a lot, and it does not make anything lighter with the hurt that we cause others, but the hurt that's going on inside of us during those times is so painful, and it's very difficult to overcome. It's very difficult to talk, to work through, to get through, especially for people that don't understand. Um, so I would say, give yourself some grace. There are people that understand. Um, Talking about it is okay. There's nothing shameful about it. There's nothing. I mean, I was an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic now in recovery. I'm not afraid of it. It's a chapter in my life that now I'm talking about it, that I'm proud of, because it was something that needed to stop, and I stopped it. Um, so give yourself some love always, because it's tough, and then get some help. Talk to someone, talk to anybody, talk to me. I mean, I do that just because I love telling my story, but there are resources out there, and I am one of them and can point you in directions to at least take one step at a time, one day at a time.
Great. So, having navigated these incredible highs and lows and dedicated your life now to service, tell us, what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Well, first and foremost, sobriety is a key to my success, because without it, nothing is, I just, it would not be a good situation. My faith is the strongest thing that I have. that I'm so proud of. That is the driver of everything that I'm referring to today. Be above and beyond anything. Um, the peaks and valleys, I didn't always deal with them the right way, and I did give myself some grace, like I referred to. Um, but I did get through them, and that's the message. But my faith and my sobriety, without them, nothing else is possible. Of course, I love to be healthy, and I know I'll be back to being 100% soon. But those things are so important to me and to my success that it just bleeds over into my relationships with my family and friends and loved ones, and it's just so much better.
All right. So, finally, Ken, this conversation has been incredibly powerful. So, for listeners who have been moved by your story and want to learn more about Iron Mind Advisors, your coaching, or perhaps follow your journey, where's the best place for them to connect?
Yeah, so certainly my website would be the best place, which is IronMindAdvisors.com. Um, and then I'm really enjoying doing these short tips regarding recovery and stuff on TikTok, where I can be found at Iron Mind Kenny. Um, just, you know, kind of some raw footage about my days with recovery and whatnot. And then the website, I go into a lot more detail about this journey that I'm on, and I'm welcome anybody to take a look.
Fantastic. Ken, it's been a really inspiring conversation with you, and I'm excited to have you on the show today.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Ezekiel. I really appreciate it.